Hey guys, what a wild way to kick off this brand new 2026 era. We just left Shanghai after Kimi Antonelli, the teenager in only his second ever Grand Prix, snatches pole, gets jumped at the start by Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari, fights his way back through, and then just drives away for a maiden victory. Mercedes won 2 with George Russell right behind him, only 5.5 seconds back, and Hamilton takes third for his first podium in Ferrari red. I mean, come on, the kid's 18 and he's already a Grand Prix winner. That's the stuff you dream about. But now we're packing up and heading straight to Suzuka for round 3, and honestly, after what we saw in China, I'm sitting here thinking the momentum is screaming one way, but Suzuka has a habit of throwing curveballs. So today, we're diving into exactly what to expect this weekend, who's got the car for Japan's flowing high-speed madness, where the upgrades might flip things, and who I actually think walks away with the win. Let's get into it. First off, quick shout out. If you're loving these deep dives and you haven't smashed subscribed yet, do it right now because we're breaking down every single race weekend like this all year, and it really helps the channel. Huge thanks to everyone who's already on board. You guys are the reason we can keep geeking out over this stuff. Alright, back to the racing. So, China was a sprint weekend, but the main race told the real story. Antonelli starts on pole, gets a bit of wheel spin off the line, Hamilton dives down the inside into turn 1 and leads the first lap, but Kimi doesn't panic. He stays right on Lewis's gearbox, uses that new overtake mode on the long back straight, and retakes the lead before the end of lap 4. From there, it was pretty much lights out. Mercedes looked bulletproof on race pace, especially in the middle stint on the harder compound. Russell was right there the whole time, maybe a tenth or two off per lap, but never close enough to challenge once Kimi got into a rhythm. Hamilton hung on for third, but you could see Ferrari losing a bit of time in the high-speed S's, about 3 or 4 tenths a lap in sectors 1 and 2 compared to the Mercs. Tire behavior was interesting too. These narrower 2026 tires seem to have a narrower operating window, and graining showed up early if you pushed too hard in the first 10 laps. Antonelli managed it perfectly, kept the fronts alive through the long left-handed corners. Red Bull, on the other hand, rough. Verstappen had a nightmare with balance and ended up way down the airter, and McLaren still hasn't found the sweet spot with the new active aero. They're scoring points, but nowhere near the front yet. Now let's talk about what's actually happening under the skin, because 2026 is a totally different animal, and Suzuka is going to expose exactly who's got it right. These cars are smaller, lighter, down around 30 kilos from last year, shorter wheelbase, narrower tires, and the power unit is basically half electric now. You've got roughly 350 kilowatts from the MGU-K alone, which is insane, and no more MGU-H. Battery deployment is everything. But the game changer is the active aero. Straight line mode, front and rear wings flatten out automatically for minimum drag on the long straights and the back straight before the chicane. Then it snaps into corner mode the second you turn in. More angle of attack, proper downforce. Suzuka is perfect for testing this because you've got those super fast direction changes through the S's, turns 3 to 7, where you need the car to be planted but not dragging too much. Then the massive 130R where you're doing 300 plus kph with barely any steering input, and the spoon curve where you're braking from high speed into a slow hairpin. From what we've seen so far, Mercedes has nailed the balance between those two modes. Their chassis seems to handle the transition smoother, and their battery management is letting them deploy full electric power out of the hairpin and through the final sector without overheating. Ferrari looked strong on the straights in China, that's why Hamilton got the early lead, but they were bleeding time in the medium speed stuff. Red Bull's new Ford power unit still feels a bit down on total output, and McLaren, they just haven't got the aero efficiency dialed in under the new regs. The cars follow each other better now, which is great, but if your active aero isn't perfectly synced, you're sliding around like we saw with Norris and Piastri. Let's hear from the drivers because their comments after China were telling. Kimi Antonelli, still buzzing, said, "This win is the fulfillment of one of the dreams I've had since I first drove a go-kart. I'm speechless, honestly." You could hear the emotion in his voice. George Russell was all class. Huge congrats to Kimi. He drove an incredible race, and to get a 1-2 for the team this early is massive. And Hamilton on his Ferrari podium feels good to be back up here. The car's got pace, but we know we've still got work to do. Toto Wolff after the race basically said, "We're the team to beat right now, but Japan is a completely different challenge." So, looking ahead to Suzuka this weekend, it's a driver's track, classic figure-8 layout, 53 laps, and with these new lighter cars, it's going to feel even more alive. The high-speed stability through 130R and the S's is going to separate the field. Mercedes should be favorites again. Their package seems to love flowing technical circuits like this, but I wouldn't rule out a Ferrari fight, especially if they bring that special rear wing configuration they've been hinting at for better straight-line speed without sacrificing too much corner downforce. Red Bull and McLaren need big steps, maybe some floor tweaks or software updates for the active aero, otherwise they'll be battling for best of the rest. Big picture for the championship, Mercedes are flying. Russell leads the driver's title by just 4 points over his teammate, and they've got a monster 98 points in the constructors. Ferrari are second, but already 30 plus back. McLaren and Red Bull are way down, and Haas is somehow in the mix thanks to Oliver Behrman. To me, this early dominance from Mercedes isn't a fluke. The new regs play to their strengths in chassis and hybrid management, but it's only round 3. One bad weekend or a reliability glitch and the narrative flips fast. I still think the title fight is going to be between Russell, Antonelli, and maybe Leclerc by the end of the year. So, my prediction for Japan, Mercedes 1-2 again, but this time I reckon George Russell edges it. He's got more experience, and Suzuka has always been a happy hunting ground for him. Antonelli on the podium again, and I think Hamilton can sneak fourth or maybe even challenge for third if Ferrari get that wing right. Do you think the kid keeps the momentum and wins back-to-back, or can someone else finally stop the Mercedes train? Drop your predictions in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you after qualifying when we break down exactly how the weekend played out. We'll have to see. Thank you all for stopping by. Peace.